Hello, everyone, and welcome to Never on the Back Foot. We're back, and tonight we are discussing the retentions by the 10 IPL franchisees ahead of the upcoming mega auction. That is something we're all very much looking forward to. I think one thing I can say for sure is all the cricketing groups were just abuzz with discussions about these retentions and everyone having an opinion. So it just felt right, to call Rishabh and Achal, two very ardent and passionate cricket fans, to just talk about these IPL retentions, put things in perspective. We took a good day to kind of absorb all of the things that happened and not do a reactionary episode. This will come from a place of us just trying to transmit as much as we could understand and make do. So warm welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and to all the viewers as well. Please do send in your questions. We'll be more than happy to address them. And yeah, guys, let's actually first start off with Mumbai Indians, right? I mean, the kind of retentions they had, everyone said it was very predictable. I mean, you have the likes of Jasprit Bumrah for 18 crores, Surya Kumar Yadav for 16.35 crores, Hardik Pandya for 16.35, Rohit Sharma for 16.3 crores, and Tilak Verma for 8 crores. So I'll start off with Achal, what do you make of these retentions? Did you kind of see it coming, and five-time champions, wanting to just sort of retain that core?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. And talking about Mumbai Indians, I think it was very predictable. The only question was if Rohit Sharma agrees to stay at Mumbai Indians because there were a lot of rumors last year. And indeed, he did. That's great for the franchisee and for the tournament, I feel. And that was the only question that was asked. Otherwise, the core was said they have a great Indian core. I mean, you have three people who have captained India there. What else do you want? And and all those three can captain India today. Right now, they are captaining India, and they have captained in the past as well. So they have a great Indian core, a great leadership core as well. And Tilak Verma is a great young player. I mean, he's upcoming, he's scoring runs in the domestic circuit, in the IPL, in the A games. He's scoring runs everywhere. And even when he played for India, he didn't impress that much, but I think he'll find his mojo in the international level as well. Maybe sooner or later, but yeah, hopefully it's sooner. And apart from that, one more thing what I liked about Mumbai was they gave Bumrah the first retention, that's 18 crore for Bumrah. So that was a great thing that they did because I think he completely deserves it. And kudos to Hardik Pandya maybe to have taken that pay cut and agreeing for Bumrah to actually be the first retention.
That's actually such a good point because we heard so many rumors of players throwing around tantrums, wanting so much amount of money, and not getting retained. We will talk about those players a little later in our conversation. But great points there, Achal, and I'll actually direct this one to Rishabh because although these retentions were great and everyone was very happy, but there were some who missed out. So were you surprised with say the likes of Ishan Kishan or even Deval Brevis, not kind of making the cut, or was it ki ha, matlab, there's only so many players you can retain, no?
I mean, I think the five players they retained, it was in a way, yeah, like you said, predictable because even though whatever the narratives were between Rohit Sharma and Hardik Pandya, it was always going to see, it was always likely that that the franchise would hold on to Rohit Sharma given his contributions and given how he is so important to their setup as well. So you so letting go of him would have been reactionary and would have caused all sorts of issues that would have brewed within the Mumbai Indians camp. It would have made the auction very interesting for sure, but I think this was the right move from Mumbai, and I think having Bumrah as the top person, I mean, it's kind of symbolic of how important he is to the Mumbai Indians franchise and to cricket at large. I mean, I still argue that his spell in the T20 World Cup final is what brought the Indian team back into contention. So, but yeah, like in coming back to the people that missed out, yes, Dual Brevis was a miss. Ishan Kishan definitely a miss. Tim David as well. So, and the fact that it's five people that they have retained, they have an RTM, I think, for an uncapped player, and I am thinking that they would go for either Nehal Vadera or a Namandhir. In fact, I was expecting them to retain Namandhir, but but maybe I think Mumbai probably believe that they might get him back at a slightly lower price than the 4 crores. So yeah, I mean, Ishan Kishan definitely looked like someone who could be a mainstay for the Mumbai Indians, and I kind of and I think they might go back for Ishan again, but then again, he's an aggressive left-handed opener, and I can easily see 5 or 6 other franchises definitely vying for him as well. So, and given that he has scored runs on a consistent basis in the IPL, if not maybe for the Indian cricket team. So I think so. Yeah, definitely someone that will be targeted in the auction. And so yeah, it will be very interesting to see how Mumbai go about it in the auction with a lot because they also didn't have a very good previous season as well. So they may be looking at a bit of a restart, but with the core that they have retained, which I think is a very good core, by the way.
Absolutely fair points there. And even I think heading into the auction right now, Mumbai is left with a purse of like 45 crores. So I'll direct this one to Achal. How would you go about, constructing the rest of the squad? Because I think Akshat here also goes on to express his pleasure with, how the Mumbai retentions look so sorted along with Hardik as captain. And that's the best thing. Now they need good spinners, pacers, and opening options along with Rohit too. So Achal, do you agree with this about how they can go about with the squad construction?
I completely agree with Akshat here. I mean, they will be eyeing for a foreign pacer to support Bumrah like they've done always. I think they might go back for Trent Bolt this time. They formed a wonderful partnership in 2020, which won them the season. So I think they might try to go back for Trent Bolt or someone like that, a good left arm pacer who a good left arm foreign pacer will be one of the top picks. Other than that, I think spinners, yeah, they have not got many a great spinners in the past. But this time, I hope that they try and solve that problem of theirs. They could look back at Krunal Pandya for that matter, because he's not a big wicket taker, but the economy that he brings in, the tight spells that he bowls, he will be key in a stadium like Wankhede, I feel. So I think Krunal Pandya, Trent Bolt, these two will be on their radar. And they also need a keeping option now that Ishan Kishan is not there. So I don't think they'll get back Ishan Kishan for a less amount, and they're having only 45 crores. I don't think that's possible. But like Rishabh said, they might go for Nihal Vadera or Namanjir as the RTM. I have a left field opinion on this. I think they should go for Vishnu Vinod, who is an opener, who is a wicket keeper, and he can be used in an effective way at the top of the order along with Rohit Sharma. So I feel Vishnu Vinod could be a good choice, and he will not go as high as somebody like Nihal Vadera for that matter. So I might go for Vishnu Vinod as well over here.
That's actually a good shout, and considering how Mumbai really does their homework and so much research with their scouting side of things, this might actually end up being a very good move for them. So if the scouts are listening to us, you heard it from Achal first up. But before we move on to another franchise, I think I'll open up this question to both of you. If now Mumbai has just that one RTM, right? So who would that be for you? We'll start with Rishabh, and then probably Achal can answer this. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, so it is that for that one uncapped. I mean, I I do believe that it will be one of because I think it's the one uncapped player that they have the RTM for. So it I like I said, it would be either Namandhir or Nehal Vedera in my opinion, because both of them did are pretty promising picks. Um, Achal's I think Anshul Kamboj can also come into the play as well. But yeah, Achal made a very good point on Vishnu Vinod as well, especially when it comes to the price tag, because Nehal Vadera and Namandir have featured in the Indian domestic scene and in the IPL. They've done fairly well too. So maybe more franchisees might be keen on them as well. It so the so these dynamics do come up from time to time. But for my money, probably it's going to be either one of Namandir or Nehal Vadera. Yeah.
Okay, and Achal, your picks for that one RTM?
I already said they could try for Vishnu Vinod, but this depends a lot on the auction dynamics on when the player comes up and what happens over there. So my pick personally would be Vishnu Vinod for Mumbai Indians. And yeah, Nihal Vadera is a very good option. Namandir is a very good option. Akash Madhwal, for that matter, is a very good option as well. So they have options that way. But for me, they need a wicket keeper opener. That's how they have always been. They had Quinton de Kock, they had Ishan Kishan. Now they can try with Vishnu Vinod, is what I feel.
Fair enough. And yeah, guys, let's move on to RCB. The retained players are Virat Kohli for 21 crores. We have Rajat Patidar for 11 crores and Yash Dayal for 5 crores. I think this is the one time where I collectively saw RCB fans not lose their calm. They were like, oh, these are actually great retentions. So I'll probably start off with the other RCB fan in house. Achal, what were your thoughts on these retentions? Because, again, I hope you were not disappointed by these, no?
No, not at all. I mean, all three were no-brainers as such. Virat Kohli, I don't think anyone has to speak on him anymore. I mean, he's there. He's just there for the next, and he has already said that he's there for the next 3 years. That means 20 years with the team. And there are rumors that he might captain, but I'm not sure about that. We'll come to that later, maybe. But yeah, Rajat Patidar had a brilliant season last season. He scored 550s, if I'm not wrong, and he scored in excess of 350, 400 runs, somewhere around that. And he played a couple of matches less as well because of the injury he was carrying. And yeah, I mean, and yet Dayal, of course, he's almost in the test team right now. That shows his progress. And I'm sure he'll make his debut soon, but we are lucky enough to get him as an uncapped player this season for 4 crore. I mean, 5 crore. So yeah, that is these three are pretty good retentions. But one thing I thought they could have done is they could have also retained Will Jacks for 11 or 14 crores. So I think that would have been a much better strategy. I mean, I don't know what their thought process is. They still have three RTMs. They can get back Jacks at a low value maybe. So I think they are looking at that. But these three retentions for sure, I'm happy with them. But I think Will Jacks would have been a great addition to the list.
Yeah, no, actually makes sense. And I'll also ask this question to Rishabh. Like, were there any names that you were surprised who didn't make the cut for RCB? Like, see the likes of Faf du Plessis, Glenn Maxwell. Now, Achal mentions Will Jacks. So, did you kind of see that coming as well?
Yeah, I mean, Will Jacks had performed quite well for RCB last season, and like Achal mentions, could have been a pretty good retention. But again, I think the logic at play here is the RTM, because if you were to, would you, Will Jacks retention would have probably cost them 14 crores, whereas maybe in the auction he doesn't go that far, and they can get him for less. So there's that operating as well. um, I was a half expecting Cameron Green, but with his injury, I guess it was never likely, and it's a bit of a loss for the franchise actually, given the kind of talent that he is, and given that he would have been a good mainstay for the RCB middle order, and it would have been brilliant. Um, me personally, I really wanted to see Mohammad Siraj in RCB. They might even get him back. They have with the three RTMs, but I think two of them are capped and one uncapped. So I think because Indian fast bowlers, they are always in demand in these auctions, and you will always have franchisees vying for them. Siraj is one of those players that on his day can win you a match. He is that kind of player, but at the same time, he's also the one. He's not the most economical. He goes for runs, and especially in the I think what RCB were looking at is how can you perform at Chinnaswamy, because it's a stadium where you will go for runs, where it bowling is not easy. And so I think maybe in this coming auction, their bowling attack is going to have to be sort of tailored in the way in which they perform at the Chinnaswamy, so that because that's probably one of those things which has been a bit of a weakness almost in the RCB setup for a while. So I think that's where their focus will be. So yeah, I mean, definitely a Will Jacks and a Mohammad Siraj is someone who would whom they maybe could have retained, didn't do so, and I think they would look to get them back in the auction.
Yeah, because I think a lot of RCB's good performances could be attributed to the likes of Siraj actually performing well, Cameron Green coming and doing his job, Will Jackson, especially in that latter half of RCB's season as well. So yeah, fingers crossed. Let's see how the auction dynamics, as they say, play out, and can RCB reacquire them or not. I think we lost Achal for a minute, but Rishabh, I think get your thoughts in the meanwhile. Now, there's been so much talk, right, about Virat returning as captain for RCB. So many fans, want this to happen. So, what do you think about that? Do you think it's the right move? Is it going a step back, or like, where do you find yourself?
The thing is, because they've retained him for 21 crore, it's this hefty sum that they're giving Virat. It is, I probably with that confidence that maybe that captaincy is something that he might get back. And I mean, RCB fans will be on board immediately with that. But now here's the thing: I think he did give up captaincy at one point, and him and Faf seem to be on good terms as well. And with so this is going to be a question mark. I guess we'll have to see how the auction goes, or if the franchise maybe like what Mumbai did with Hardik Pandya. They soon after retention they announced Hardik as captain. So does RCB do something similar, or do they actually look for a captain-like figure in the auction? Because you have a few players like that who have not been retained by their franchisees and are in the auction. So it is something to look forward to. I think I would say it would be a very it's almost romantic in a way to have Virat Kohli back as captain. It would revitalize the franchise, and if they go the distance as with him at the helm, nothing better. So it is something definitely to look forward to. I guess too early to say at this point, unless there is some announcement that comes from the RCB themselves. But if they're going to retain Kohli for that kind of a price, then yeah, it definitely hints towards that direction. But definitely something to watch out for, because RCB they will rely on a captain like figure, and Kohli is the biggest player in that team, and almost to the point at which Virat Kohli is RCB, at some level. So that's how it goes, I think, and at least that's what I think as well. Would love to know what Achal says.
Yeah, that's actually going to come up with this question to Achal as well, because now RCB is entering that auction with a massive purse of 83 crores, which is the second highest amount. So when you have someone like Virat in your ranks, you can quite literally build a team around him, right? Because if he's your captain already, then you don't have to invest in another captain or so. So do you see that happening, Achal, or again RCB doing RCB things, investing in another player, say like KL Rahul or Rishabh Pant, and then seeing the dynamics play out for the team?
I'm not sure about this actually because I think Virat Kohli, everyone wants him to be back as the captain for RCB, and I'm one of them as well. But with RCB, I mean, 21 crores, yes, that hints that maybe the leadership role is coming back to him. But again, maybe they'll go back for KL Rahul, or I don't think we'll get Rishabh Pant with the kind of purse Punjab has. I pretty honestly think he's going there with Ponting once again. But coming back to RCB, I think it will be either of KL Rahul or Virat Kohli as our captain for the next season. But I think they're not announcing it right now to just try and play the auction dynamics over there, just try and play a few mind games over there. And I don't think if Virat is indeed going to be the captain, that might be the only reason that they're not announcing it right now.
Yeah, that actually makes sense, because why reveal all your strategies and just play your cards as close to your chest as possible till the actual situation now comes to hand. But let's take a few comments. One from Akash here that says having bowlers like Bolt, Bhuvi, Rabada. I think RCB thought it's time to move on from Siraj as the spells are no more threatening even in Test cricket. In the auction as well. Yeah, so I think wait, that comment was separate. Yeah, so he feels the spells are not that threatening. I mean, the recent Test series has proven to be quite challenging for Siraj, and a lot of memes coming on him as well, which is unfortunate and very uncalled for. But that's probably how it is. Let's see if RCB does exercise the RTM on Siraj and gets him back, because a lot of fans want him back. And another comment that goes on to say RCB shouldn't spend 15 to 20 crores on one single player except a wicket-keeper batter like KL and a quality bowler. Rest all they should target within 10 crores, as there are a lot of people going under the hammer. So again, Achal, do you think the same, that RCB usually does some very funny things in the auction and goes, absolutely bonkers after some players? But agree with that? 15 to 20 crores should be the cap on some players, and after a point, you should just let go.
I mean, yeah, I first of all, this is a big auction, and there won't be a lot of players going for that much of money, 15, 20 crores. There'll be only a few, like three or four players maybe. That And another thing is, a lot of teams have lesser purse this time going into the auction. They have like 45, 50, 55 crores. So they will be playing with that much. And Punjab, RCB, and Delhi will have like in excess of 70 crores. So these two factors will obviously matter a lot in this auction. And yeah, and a few really good players this time in the auction as well, like very good players. So I mean, yeah, spending 15, 20 crores on one player, maximum one player, I guess. That's it for RCB.
Yeah, keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope we don't end up spending a lot of money on one player alone, because then it really, kind of imbalances constructing the rest of the squad. And RCB has been guilty of that in the past as well. So just hoping that sort of a situation doesn't happen. But guys, let's also talk about Delhi Capitals, because again, just looking at their retained players, right? Oh, and a very interesting mix, right? You have Akshat Patel for 16.5 crores. Kuldeep Yadav for 13.25 crores, Tristan Stubbs for 10 crores, and Abhishek Porel for 4 crores. Perhaps I think the biggest surprising thing of this was letting go of Rishabh Pant. Probably, they just couldn't negotiate or something. So, Rishabh, what did you make of Rishabh Pant not being retained by Delhi Capitals, or them, not being able to negotiate it? And I didn't deliberately direct this question to you.
Oh no, it was a big surprise, probably the biggest surprise of this auction. At some level, I'm sure there must have been a breakdown of communication between the owners and Rishabh Pant, because it's not like Rishabh Pant did poorly last season. He had a cup. I mean, mind you, he's coming back after that terrible accident, and now and then he scored a couple of half centuries as well, and so he did seem to. And now that he's like properly back in the Indian Test cricket team, I mean, he does seem to be back in the groove. So for DC not to continue with him, yeah, I mean, it is a surprise, and I guess it's also to do with the change in the ownership structure a little bit of Delhi Capitals themselves. I think GMR will now be at the helm, so they probably think that they're better off without Rishabh Pant. I mean, like what Achal was saying, very few players will go in that 15, 20 crore category in the auction. I believe Pant is going to be one of them. He is, because he is that player. He is definitely going. In fact, maybe more than 20 crore if possible, because he brings that captain. He brings that experience of being a captain, a wicket keeping batter, and again, someone who is a potential match winner. So his captaincy maybe last season was not exactly something that was like supremely brilliant, which I think Delhi Capitals finished in the bottom half of the table. So it wasn't wholly convincing, but I do believe he has also grown in during this period of time. So yeah, most certainly teams will be looking out for Rishabh Pant. He is, and you he is. I mean, I would argue he would probably be one of the most expensive buys in that auction, given what he brings, given and given the sort of the requirements that teams will have in this mega auction, like I think there are like 4 or 5 teams that need a captain in this auction. So it's definitely going. So he will be in very high demand. We can expect a very nice bidding war amongst franchisees when Pant comes under the hammer.
Interesting. But then again, just looking at Rishabh Pant's performances in T20 cricket, it's a very pale shadow, right, of what he used to be back in the day. So I'm not sure Rishabh if he'll exactly go for like those 15, 20 crores and all of that because he still has that reputation. And somewhere I think Rishabh Pant is also being very Dhoni-fied, like, like he's this man who can, like, carry your team, wicket keeper, batter sort of image as well. So any team would be happy to acquire him. But again, his T20 records in the recent past haven't impressed me a lot. So I'd be happy to be proven wrong if a team acquires him and he does really well. But Achal, again, just to get your thoughts on the retained players, right? Because when we look at Delhi Capitals, the biggest talking point ended up becoming Rishabh Pant not being retained. But then just looking at the retained players, you have Akshar Patel, Tristan Stubbs, Kuldeep Yadav, and Abhishek Porel, a very interesting mix, right? Achal,
Yeah,
can you hear us?
definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, Akshar Patel is like a locked in, I guess. Once Pant was out, I think Akshar had to be their first retention. They also have Kuldeep Yadav, who is once again the one of India's best wrist spinners going on right now. So you won't leave someone like him. And Tristan Stubbs as well. He's creating waves around the globe in T20 leagues. He's creating waves in Test cricket as well. Now he just got his first 100 a few days ago. So yeah, he is one for the future, and he is a very very good finisher, is what I feel. And I think they've got their 8 overs locked in over there with these retentions of Akshar and Kuldeep. Plus, they have a good finisher as well. And Abhishek Porel obviously can come in at 3 or 4 and play your anchors or all, whatever the situation demands for. So I think the 4 options what they have retained are pretty good. And I don't think they had a lot of options going in. In fact, to be honest, they had Pant and these 4, and they didn't have a lot of great prospects who could be retained for that amount in the auction. So I think what they have done is pretty logical and pretty sensible for me.
Yeah, that does make sense. And, now again, when you look at Delhi Capitals, they'll be entering the auction with 73 crores. So, Rishabh, if you were at the helm of, affairs at Delhi Capitals, how would you look at the auctions? Like, what are some of the areas you would want to build? Because, of course, they're going to be missing their captain now. So, it's kind of, again, pressing that reset button and, constructing a squad around these players. So, what would the mindset be like?
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to focus on bowling because that's where they kind of were off the mark last season. And I think with regards to the RTMs, the thing is, they would probably go a little afresh. I feel in the auction with their bowling. Not a lot of maybe they might do an RTM on Andrik Nortia, but again, he didn't really impress too much. Last season. So I don't know if they will go for him per se. Like Achal said, they didn't have too many options anyways with regards to their retentions. Minus for Rishabh Pant, maybe David Warner they might consider, but that's also a maybe. So it's so I think they'll be going afresh. I I am not. I don't know if they will use any of the RTM options. But yeah, I think if they're going to have to construct, if they first have to get a captain, which I do, and which I believe is going to be a pretty, which is pretty obvious, and then I think they would have to really focus on having a solid bowling lineup for the upcoming season, because that's I feel like that's where they were a little bit off the mark last season, and that's probably their most significant area of improvement.
Yeah, definitely. And just, talking a little bit about the RTM part, and I kind of agree with Nikhil here that they can actually consider getting Mukesh Kumar and Jake Fraser, McGurk back, right? I mean, both of them are good picks. Kind of performed well for Delhi in that past season. So yeah, Rishabh, would these two kind of come in that
Actually,
consideration
yeah,
and radar for you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, yes. I'm glad someone reminded me of Jake Fraser McGurk because I mean, he is that talent, right? He is that like super explosive mercurial talent coming from Australia, and I mean, he had good starts in Delhi, couldn't, but wasn't maybe wasn't consistent enough. And it's a little bit of that is being seen with Australia as well. But he is sort of making waves within the limited over setup there. So I'm glad that someone brought up Jake Fraser McGurk. In fact, if they are going to RTM someone, they might actually go for JFM. Although I do think other teams will also look for JFM too. So because of the talent that was, that's a good one. I forgot about that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that JFM is definitely one option they can consider. I hope auction dynamics doesn't, push them to the brink of being in a very
Yeah.
troublesome place where they can't kind of retain him. But I found this comment by Akash also very interesting. He goes on to say, I don't know how true this might be, but Pant's record in tests is too good due to the fact that he plays unorthodox shots where fielders are hardly placed, and therefore in T20s the fields being spread out, yeah, one of the reasons. So, Achal, do you agree with this that in T20s Rishabh Pant clearly struggles because of the way the fields are, but in tests because it's more open, he can just access those areas better, and that's why his record is probably better in tests than in T20s.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the reasons, but I'm not completely sure about this as well because his game, to the level that it is, I think he should be successful in all three formats. But yeah, Test cricket, obviously, you have these in and out fields where he can play with the field, and he does do that to all the bowlers. I mean, come on, who's reverse sweeps James Anderson with the new ball? So yeah, I mean, he is a freak of a player, and he should be successful in all three formats. And I just hope wherever he goes this time around and finds a good coach, mentor, whatever, and finds his hands in the T20 game as well. I mean, he's too good a player to miss out. But yeah, this could be one of the reasons. The field could be one of the reasons. And if that is the case, I think he should consider opening. Use the power play to its fullest. Just go all out there. 6 overs, bang, bang, 70, 75 runs for the team, 40, 45 for yourself. The game is over. So that's how Rishabh Pant can play. I mean, he can consider opening if the field setting is an issue.
Wow, I mean, that is quite an interesting way of looking at it. I don't think a lot of teams have used Rishabh Pant as an opener. They kind of just look at him as that finisher
I mean,
sort of an option. But
he
good.
started as an opener in the under 19 setup. So
Yeah, might as well use them for that. And before we move on to KKR, which would obviously give Rishabh here also a lot of happiness, let's just take this one more question from our comments. So, Rishabh, I'll direct this one to you. Do you think Akshar Patel can be a good contender for that captaincy role, or are we just pushing him too early into something he may not exactly be ready for?
I don't know. I don't see him as as that captain kind of a thing. I don't think he's done that role before, and I I think with Delhi they are going to probably look at a new captain. They're gonna, like I said, because of the season that they had before, and the fact that they let go of Rishabh Pant. Because if they were gonna have a captain like figure, then they might as well have kept retained him, or they might. And I don't think they'll do an RTM on Rishabh Pant as well. So um, I mean, if it's a decision that Delhi has to take, I think it's already done. But I probably don't see it, but it's something to look out for unless it'd be a surprise if it happened, essentially.
Yeah, that's true because Akshar Patel is too good of a player to, have even captaincy thrust on him and, look after that for an IPL franchise is a massive, massive gamble. So probably, Delhi may not do that. But thank you for your question, Akash. I think it really did provoke us to think about it. But yeah, let's now talk about KKR and just looking at their retained players. You have Rinku Singh for 13 crores, Varun Chakravarti for 12, Sunil Narayan for 12, Andre Russell for 12. Harshit Rana and Ramandeep Singh going for 4 crores each. I know they did exhaust quite a little bit of their purse here. Yet it just seems like they've really, kept that core intact, which is quite refreshing to see. Not a lot of franchises have done that. So I'll open this question up to Rishabh because it's his franchise, his favorite one. So how would you look at these retentions, Rishabh? Were you happy? Did you feel some people missed out? And yeah, just your initial impressions.
It was a bittersweet one because I mean, obviously, the elephant in the room is Shreyas Iyer not being in the team, and because he was the first person that I had in my retention list. But once reports emerged that maybe Shreyas would go out and test his luck in the auction because there was maybe an element of breakdown with the KKR management and him. Apparently, he wanted a lot more money than what the management was willing to give. I mean, good for him. His contribution towards KKR was significant. I mean, yeah, you could argue Gautam Gambhir kind of hogged the headlines last season, given his emotional return back to the franchise and KKR subsequently winning it. But throughout last season, you could see that with the kind of bowling changes that Shreyas Iyer was making, the faith that he had on certain bowlers, Harshit Rana being one of them, by the way, and uh, and the way he was sort of and the kind of faith that was placed on on the batting lineup. I think KKR had one of the most balanced squads last season. A squad that did not do too much chopping and changing, and that definitely helped the team. So his I would definitely not so yeah, definitely he is a miss, big miss in fact. And because we were talking about Delhi Capitals' captaincy scenario, I actually think he's on his way to Delhi Capitals. Um, because of the change in ownership within DC and the fact that he was the captain for Delhi Capitals, right? So for a couple of seasons, and they did fairly, and Shreyas did fairly well for them too. Didn't win obviously, but did pretty well. And so definitely, um, like I said, the 15-20 crore players that might change franchises, like, I see him as one of them as well. And I also, and given the kind of comments that were made by Venki Mysore, I do not see KKR bidding for Shreyas Iyer again. So it will probably be between DC or Punjab. And I think DC is probably more likely. But coming back to the people who were retained, I mean, yeah, you could see how angry I was when I saw reports of Andrew Russell not being retained. I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't, because here's the thing. Because here's the thing. Sunil Narayan has been in KKR since 2012. Andrew Russell has been in KKR since 2014. They play for the Knight Riders franchise, not just in India, but across leagues, T20 leagues in the world. So that element of loyalty that they have shown to the franchise and what the franchise has given to them is, it's something that you don't see in many franchises. Maybe you see that with Virat Kohli and RCB, you see that with Rohit Sharma and Mumbai Indians, maybe with MS Dhoni and Chennai Super Kings. So and I think that ought to be rewarded. So eventually, when I saw both of them being retained, and that too for 12 crore, which I feel like is a fairly less amount compared to some of the players that were the kind of amounts we are seeing players being retained. It was very happy, made me very happy. I was very happy to see Rinku Singh being our top retention choice for 13 crore. He is that player who is, it's like he's one of those players you will have to go long on. It's like, because he is that sort of a talent. He is that sort of that he's this exciting prospect who will only get better. And and again, mind like we got Rinku Singh in 2018, and when we initially got him on, his strike rate was actually was an issue. He wasn't exactly your player who was going at it from ball one or ball two. But now he's become an indispensable part of the team, even though he didn't have much to do last season, probably because Sunil Narayan and Phil Salt had done so much damage up top. But yeah, super happy to see Rinku being our top retention, and I hope he carries on with us for a long time. And as for Harshit Rana and Ramandeep Singh, they really proved themselves last season. Harshit Rana became so important for us, especially during the power play overs, getting wickets. Someone who could swing the ball, someone who also had variations, and who could even occasionally take it up to 140, 145 kph, and now he's making inroads within the Indian cricket team setup as well. So definitely someone whose potential is on the cusp of getting realized. And which is why I was really hoping that we hold on to Harshit Rana as well, Ramandeep Singh, who again, who was that player, that almost a finisher kind of a player that we had. You could almost say a successor to Andre Russell in a way, because Ramandeep can also bowl. We didn't see too much of him bowling last season, but he definitely can do that. And even Ramandeep Singh is now making inroads. He was a part of the emerging T20 competition that took place, playing for India A, and he did pretty well there as well. So I think having Ramandeep and Harshit Rana are brilliant picks, and Varun Chakravarti again, someone who was on my list pretty high, because he didn't have a good. He's been with KKR for a pretty long time too, and the thing is, he had his second half of the previous season. He didn't have a good start, sure, but he came back incredibly well, and I think he was one of the top wicket takers. I think he was our top wicket taker last season. Took 20 odd wickets for us, and him and Sunil Narayan, especially bowling in those middle overs, they stifle runs and they take wickets. And 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 if you can control those middle overs, it's golden. That's make or break for that team. So yes, not having Shreyas Iyer is a miss. In fact, I think KKR was one of those franchises that were batting for more retentions, like 7 or 8 or more RTMs, given the kind of players that we lost out on. It's not just Shreyas Iyer. We don't have Phil Salt, how important he was for us last season. Mitchell Stark, who did not have a good start, but played. He had a match-winning spell, especially in the playoffs, then and the final. And Nitish Rana, our vice captain, Venkatesh Iyer, who was the player of the match in the IPL final. So yeah, I mean, I this mega auction's coming at the absolute wrong time for us, I feel. And it's like, and because we don't have a very big purse, and given that we won last season, you can expect these KKR players will be targeted by other franchises, and it will be very difficult for us to get many of them back.
Yeah, that's true because just looking at the RTMs for KKR, they have literally none. And apparently, they were the franchise that was really pushing for RTMs, when those whole discussions were happening with the BCCI. And then they ended up, retaining so many players. So a little bit of, I don't know, I would call it brain fade, but an interesting thing that kind of played out. But I'll direct this one to Achal because now looking into the auction as well, they're heading in with 51 crores. So, what do you think KKR needs to invest more in? I mean, of course, they will be missing the likes of Phil Salt, we have Mitchell Stark, Venkatesh Iyer, who was a big, shocking, person that they didn't retain. But any other players you'd want to kind of invest in for KKR?
I think they also need a captain first up. If I don't know if Rinku Singh is ready yet for the captaincy role, and I'm sure they won't make Russell and Narayan the captain. So yeah, they need a captain first up. They will have to target some player. Again, KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant. An interesting choice for me is Ishan Kishan over here. I mean, he has led the Indian under 19 setup. He has led the state teams as well. But I'm just thinking who else can they go, and I see Ishan Kishan as one of the options. One more is Josh Butler. I mean, both of them are wicket-keeping openers, so and both of them like they play the field sort role, right? Plus they give you the leadership as well. So I think they can go for Josh Butler or Ishan Kishan. I think these are the two options. Apart from that, they will have to have international bowlers as well, like to support Harshit Rana and Sunil Narayan. So they will need to take a couple of pacers as well. And I really hope that they take back Vaibhav Arora, who did pretty decently last year for them. I really hope they take him back. I know they don't have the RTM, but they still have the buyback option. So I hope they continue to like mentor him. They continue to make him grow in that franchisee along with Harshit Rana. So I think these 3 or 4 players are what they will target. They have their opener sorted. Sunil Narayan is there. They have five, six, seven sorted with Russell, Rinku, and Ramandeep. So they have the middle order and the lower order sorted. They just need a few support bowlers for Harshit Rana and Sunil Narayan and a keeper captain. And yeah, that's what they need.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And before we move on to Lucknow Super Giants, I just wanted to get Rishabh's thoughts on this as well. So, Rishabh, I mean, of course, KKR is very close to your heart, and you'd want that captain also to, kind of represent that brand of cricket as well. So, do you have any picks in mind as to who can be this next successor to Shreyas Iyer leading KKR? And do you have any like person in mind right now?
I think Josh Butler is the one, is the closest one. Almost as not only just that as that Phil Salt replacement, but as the captain option because he has been the captain of the England cricket team, and I think under him England won. They won the T20 World Cup as well, but it was also under him that they had a pretty disastrous 2023 World Cup here in India. So there is and also I think Josh Butler has injury problems too, which come up from time to time. It's maybe one of the reasons why Rajasthan did not retain him, which was also a bit of a surprise. So it was but I think Josh Butler comes pretty close to the kind of profile that we are looking for as a captain. Um, I don't know about Ishan Kishan. It's been a while since we have seen him as that captaincy option. Rinku Singh far too early for me, I think. Preferably someone like Josh Butler, but if KKR look for someone like a Rishabh Pant, if KKR look for a KL Rahul or something like that, it would be a surprise, to me at least, because I don't know if that would fit the kind of profile that we're looking for. I would rather go for Josh Butler, but I also know that it will not be an easy acquisition. And with the 51 crores we have, we need to be a little smart with the kind of acquisitions we go for. We at max can splurge for one or two players, and the rest we have to be pretty sort of careful and pretty strategic about. And I think what Achal mentioned about having that overseas fast bowler, we had Achal, if you remember, we had this player called Gus Atkinson that we had signed
Yeah,
last season, and
correct.
who just decided not to show up, and which bummed me, which kind of was a which bummed me because he is a pretty exciting fast bowler from England, someone who clocks at 145, 150 kph, and does carry a lot of purchase from any surface that he bowls in. So I think so if we can go back to him again, would be great. I think someone mentioned in the group also if KKR could get someone like an Umran Malik and can maybe and can hone him again under Bharatarun and DJ Bravo. So that would be very exciting. But yeah, like Achal said again, Web of Aurora, actually, thanks for reminding a player that I missed. Someone who took those kind of wickets in the power play overs alongside Stark and Harshit Rana, and who was developing quite well. I think his economy rate's a bit too high for my liking, but the thing is he gets those wickets at the at the right time, and he complements that three pronged fast bowling attack that KKR had last season. So it was. I mean, I would love to see the band back together. I mean, if KKR get Mid-Stark back, dreamland. That's it, finished. Auction is over. They can send anyone else. But but and if we get Phil Salt back, even, I mean, come on, that's it. 2025 is ours for the taking. But no, it's not. But that's not. But that will be. But yeah, that's dreaming a little too much at this point because our purse is a bit light, and so we might have to look at other alternatives. But in terms of the players that we populate with to construct our squad, and obviously now with DJ Bravo at the helm, which is, I think it's a pretty exciting appointment actually. But he will have his ideas on how to build the squad along with Chandrakant Pandit and Bharatarun, and so it will be, so yeah, very interesting times. But yeah, we will have to be strategic. We'll have to be smart about whom we acquire in the auction, and yeah, we can't splurge for more than one or two players.
Yeah, that's true. And even Akash actually goes on to say something similar in the chat that, just saying 40 to 60 crore might seem less, but it'll take just 10 crores to retain the 10 to 12 uncapped and old players as each team wants their own players back. So they'll have probably 35 crores to buy 4 or 5 quality people. which actually kind of makes sense. It's a mega auction, right? It's not your mini auction where you can actually splurge on players and everything. So that's actually a fair point, and teams will have to be extremely strategic, especially KKR, considering they kind of broke the bank retaining the set of players that they did. But exciting times nonetheless, with that core, still being intact for KKR. Although they will miss Shreyas Iyer, but hopefully, they can find a good captain to lead the troop. So let's next, focus on Lucknow Super Giants now. Just looking at their retained players again, I use the word broke the bank because Nicholas Puran for 21 crores is a lot of money. Big gamble, but then he has kind of delivered for them. So maybe it made sense, to retain him. I'll get your thoughts on the same. And Ravi Bishnoi for 11 crores, Mayank Yadav for 11 crores, Mohsin Khan for 4 crores, and Ayush Badoni as well for the same 4 crores. So I'll start off with Achal on this one. What were your thoughts on the retentions? And before actually talk about the retentions, also talk to us about everything that transpired, right? KL Rahul and that whole confrontation with the owner, and then things just going absolutely south for them. But then he still led the franchise quite admirably. But then him not getting retained and the others getting retained. Your first thoughts on that?
I think after the whatever happened on the field last time around against after the match of Hyderabad, I think this was coming. This was honestly coming. So that part, I mean, KL Rahul was going to come out of the team after whatever happened. And as for their retentions, I mean, I'm not pretty sure about this team because they had assembled a great team under Gambhir, if you remember. And right now they have retained Mayank Yadav for 11 crores, who has fitness issues, who just played 3 matches for them in the last season. So they paid 11 crore over someone like Marcus Thomas. I mean, he was a great option for them. So I'm not sure about how this team will go. Even Ravi Bishnoi, 11 crore, yes, he's a great bowler. I mean, he's a very, very talented bowler. But again, 11 crores for him as well. If he had come in the auction, would he have gone? Probably, not sure. Maybe 8 to 10 crores, around that range. But yeah, they have opted for these two players along with Nicholas Puran as their cap players. And Nicholas Puran, yeah, no brainer. I mean, he has set the T20 world on fire. He scored what? 206 in this year alone, I guess. So he's a no brainer there. And I think they might also give him the captaincy there, paying him 21 crores. I am not sure, but I think they might give him the captaincy. And that will make the auction much easier for them not looking for a captain. I mean, a lot of franchises right now need a captain, and there will be a bidding war for these, again, the players that have come up multiple times in our conversation. Rishabh Pant, KL obviously not going there. So yeah, I mean, the only other options are Rishabh Pant and Shreyas Iyer, maybe Josh Butler. But again, Nicholas Puran is a good captaincy material as well. So I think they might go with him. But other than that, I'm not really sure about Mayank Yadav's retention here mainly because of his fitness issues. I mean, will he give them 14 games? Probably not. So yeah, I'm not pretty sure about them at this stage of the team building process.
Fair enough. And actually, looking at the captaincy conundrum, probably, going with someone like Nicholas Puran is not a bad option. They can actually look inwards and, have him only as the captain instead of investing in another captain. But Rishabh, again, directing this question to you, like, what were your thoughts on the retention? And even going ahead to the auction, they head in with still, 69 crores, which is a decent amount, right? So again, you're building a squad around these set of players. So again, what would be the mindset and how would you read the situation?
I think yeah, KL Rahul not leaving LSG was like an open secret of sorts. It was clear that things between him and LSG management, especially if you remember last season when there was a game that Lucknow Super Giants lost and the owner Sanjeev Goenka was having a right go at KL Rahul after the game, which was obviously not a good look for both their management and for KL. So it was, but yeah, like as you guys discussed, I mean, Nicholas Puran as a captain is not a bad option, not at all. And they might actually, and I think if they do end up making Nicky P as captain, it wouldn't surprise us. In fact, it would make complete sense. Um, yes, Mayank Yadav, I get why they are retaining him, but I don't get the 11 crore. I Because like Achal said, only 3 games, but yes, he bowled at 150 kph. He gets swing, he gets seam. He But with his injury problems, not just him, even Mohsin Khan has injury issues as well. So it's a gamble that I think that what the LSG have taken. But if the if both these two can play for an extended period of time, LST have pretty good prospects. I feel they would have to focus a good bunch on their opening, because they don't have openers essentially now. KL Rahul is not there anymore. So and the batters that they have retained, is just Nicholas Puran, who is a bit of a finisher kind of a player, and Ayush Badoni, who comes in at 3 or 4. So they will have to look at their top order, and I think they'll have to also aim for an overseas pacer, and because Ravi Bishnoi is a pretty good retention, maybe slightly overpriced, but still a pretty common sense retention from LSG. But I think they would prioritize on their top order batting, and because uh, KL Rahul was getting a lot of slack for his strike rate. Well, and the fact that he takes his own sweet time while building an innings. He'll score a half century, but it'll take him 35 to 40 balls to get there. And so by the time you get there, the innings is almost going to an end, and your total isn't high enough. So it's good. So that is something that needs to be addressed by LSG. That's probably why that's also one of the reasons, one of their reasonings as to why they might have let go of him. Not so much as not just as a captaining aspect, but even as a player aspect. So yeah, I think top order is definitely that LSG will need to prioritize on.
Yeah, I think LSG is one team, that's heading into the auction with a lot more questions, and they'll have to do some good shopping, to cover a lot of bases, because I think this is one team that a lot of people were questioning, ki, "Arey, ye kaise retentions kar liye?" But let's see how they can go about that. If I had to exercise the one RTM, it would definitely be on Marcus Stoinis, because he's that full package sort of a player. I think even Harsha Bhogle spoke about this in his, retentions blog, that Marcus Toyn is like an absolute no-brainer. You should definitely, try to go for that RTM. But I think a lot of teams will be kind of eyeing Stoinis because of the value he brings to each of the setups he's a part of. So let's see how LSG can navigate these tough waters that they kind of find themselves in. And focusing on our next team, we have Rajasthan Royals, another franchise that has had some very good returns in the recent past, and clearly has a lot of belief in their players. I mean, just look at the retentions, right? Sanju Samson for 18 crores, Yashasvi Jaiswal for 18 crores, Riyan Parag 14 crores, Dhruv Jurel 14 crores, Shimron Hetmeyer for 11, and Sandeep Sharma for 4 crores. So, Rishabh, I think I'll start off with you on this. Key, it's an eclectic mix, right, of players who have kind of performed for them over a period of time, and there's clearly some sense of trust in wanting to retain them. So, your initial thoughts and observations?
Yeah, I mean, Sanju Samson 18 crore is of no surprise at all, because he is.
16,
I
but
mean, it's yeah. Sorry,
no, no,
yeah,
no.
it's 18. Yeah. So I think Sanju and Yashasvi at 18 crore is a no-brainer, because they've been mainstays with this Rajasthan Royals setup. It makes complete sense to keep hold of them. Dhruv Jurel. Now, when I saw him at 14 crore, I was like, okay, I get why you've retained Dhruv Jurel, but 14, okay, that's quite the jump. Because I mean, yeah, I get it in the sense that okay, he is making inroads in this Indian team setup. He's definitely seen as someone with potential, wicket keeping batter. So maybe at some level, almost like a successor to Sanju Samson. So there's maybe seeing it in that lens. Maybe they want to give him more responsibility with this retention and that price tag on him. Um, I've Shimron Hetmeyer at 11. He makes sense as well, and Sandeep Sharma as an uncapped option. I did hope that they would hold on to Yuzi. I think Yuzvendra Chahal as would have been a very sensible retention. In having, I'm sure that RCB fans are, very excited by the thought of, you know, um, having him in the auction. They would love to get him back, because I don't think RCB have ever properly replaced Yuzvendra Chahal after they let him go. Why did they let him go into in the first place is the question. So there is so definitely some of the retentions here, they make sense, but from a price tag point of view was a bit I was a bit like, okay, should they could they have did they have to go this far? But I think it will be very interesting because they've also let go of like we earlier discussed, Joss Butler and Ravichandran Ashwin. Now, yeah, you can argue that Ashwin's sort of limited overs record probably isn't the as great as it used to be, but he still brings that plethora of experience, and he's actually a very handy batter now. So you can so that it, so there are so many qualities and attributes that he also brings, and he will again Ashwin will definitely be someone that will be looked at in the auction as well. I think CSK would definitely be looking forward to get him back. So I think, and many other franchisees too. So I think Rajasthan, I get what they were trying to do with these retentions. I'm just not very sure about the price tags that they've gone with. I think they've overdone it with people with especially with Dhruv Jurel and maybe Yashasvi as well. But but yeah, which is probably going to hurt their purse a little bit in the auction because I feel they've gone batter heavy in the retention. So they're definitely going to have to focus more on their bowling. So maybe I think they will go into the auction spending a lot more on bowlers than rather because their batting core seems to be fairly intact.
Yeah, because just looking at Rajasthan's retention, it's like, matlab, आधा playing 11 ही तुमने retain कर दिया because these players are definitely going to make it to that playing 11. But then I think Rishabh, you bring a really good point that they're now heading into the auction with just 41 crores. So I think direct this one to Achal because now, of course, you have your playing 11 almost sorted, but you still need areas of the squad that you need to work on. So, Achal, do you see a situation where Rajasthan might again want to go back to say UC Chahal and Joss Butler with that remaining amount, or are they just going to go and purchase other players?
I'm not pretty sure because I don't know the reasons why they left them to start with. One more player who could have been retained is Trent Bolt. I mean, he was wonderful for them in the previous 2 or 3 seasons that he played. So I think that was another option for them, maybe even ahead of Hetmyer for me. So yeah, like Rishabh said, Dhruv Jurel is a little overpriced. Yashasvi Jaiswal 18, yes, maybe in the future, but currently maybe not. Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of options going into these retentions and they made their choices, which are like, yeah, I mean, iffy, a little iffy because of the price tags, once again, like Rishabh said. But yeah, they did have options. Like, I think they have given other teams an opportunity more than what they have done for themselves with these retentions. They have left out Joss Butler, Ashwin, Chahal, Bolt. I mean, these four are sure shots players who any franchises would want. So, I mean, yeah, they could have seen at it in a different view, but yeah, they have done what they have done for now.
Yeah. And I think even Akash in the chat goes on to add that even after utilizing the 5-year uncapped rule, RR might have possibly, made the worst retentions out of all the teams, which is probably a fair assessment because, imagine spending like 25 crores on just the likes of Dhruv Jurel and Shimron Hetmyer, who Akash again goes on to say, I mean, not required retentions and, could have gone for Chahal instead. Hope he comes back to RCB. I think a lot of RCB fans would be happy with Chahal coming back. But I hope, we never know, with auction dynamics, how things will play out. So let's see how that happens. And yeah, guys, let's talk about Punjab Kings. Before that, let's take Akshat's comment that goes on to say, looking at Punjab's first, they're going to do a lot of shopping for players because the only retained players are Shashank Singh and Prabhsimran Singh for 5.5 crores and 4 crores respectively. I just find it very hard to believe how they couldn't retain the likes of Arshdeep Singh, Liam Livingston, Kagiso Rabada, Sam Curran. Like the list is just endless, but something just going very wrong with why they chose to go with just this duo. I'll start with Achal on this one. I think we did talk about how Punjab is very guilty of pressing that restart button way too soon after almost every season. But again, were you satisfied with these retained players and a little disappointed as to why they didn't retain those other players who they easily could have?
I mean, that's Punjab strategy every year, so not surprised. Disappointed, maybe yes, but not surprised at all. And Ricky Ponting is coming this season, so that is a huge addition for them in the support staff point of view. So, I mean, now it's his team. He wants to build a team from the scratch, and yeah, I mean, Arshdeep Singh, they would have thought that I'm pretty sure they will get him back through RTM. I mean, he's India's top T20 bowler right now, along with Jasprit Bumrah. So he has to be there. And I mean, I think they were not ready to pay him 18 crore, and that is the only reason that they have left him out. And that's the only logical reason I can find. Otherwise, there is nothing else that can leave Arshdeep Singh out. And regards to Livingstone, Rabada, and same reason. I mean, yeah, they can get them back through RTM for maybe 10 crores, 8 crores, 6 crores, whatever. So, yeah, I think they're trying to play the auction and they have a lot of money as well. They have 110 crores and they can literally bully any team in the auction with that kind of purse. So, yeah, I mean, they will build from scratch. I think Pant would like to go there with Ponting there again. The Ponting partnership would, I mean, it would be nice if that continued. So, yeah, I mean, Punjab, two uncapped players who performed really well, no questions about that. They are deservingly retained, but again, the not retained players are because maybe of the purse and the value of the players. Maybe no one was worth 18 crore in that squad, and they just want to get them at the market value in the auction.
Yeah, that makes sense, and possibly the only explanation because now they're heading into the auction with 110.5 crores, which is massive. I mean, they will have to construct their squad literally from scratch. I hope they get back some of the players who did well for them, who did reasonably well for them. But Rishabh, again, I'll ask you this one because Ricky Ponting is back at the helm. There's a lot of reports that he might want to get Steve Smith back in the mix to actually captain the side, and it's probably going to be something like that. Again, your thoughts on how they can go about in the auction, make some smart purchases, largest purse size. There's just so much potential for things to happen, no?
I mean, like Kachal said, they can bully teams into just buying whoever they want at this stage. It's a virtual blank check for them, and I think one of the reasons why they're going with almost like a clean slate situation here is because they want to give Ricky Ponting that clean slate, because Punjab has been that team which, like you guys mentioned, just hitting the restart button over and over. And at this point, it's something's got to give. Like at this point, you got to have some element of consistency. And so, giving this sort of a clean slate to Ricky Ponting to just build a team from scratch is at some level a wise decision as well, and one which I hope they kind of hold on to even if this upcoming season does not go well for them, because because sometimes it does take a couple of seasons to really kind of build that team dynamic, some some pieces of the puzzle that you can iron out over the next few seasons. So it's never going to be a case of, okay, you've had your mega auction, it's brilliant, and that's it. I think they will have to sort of like almost building a team from scratch. Steve Smith coming back to the IPL with Ricky Ponting. It's been done before. It's happened in many in the T20 leagues as well, and it does seem to make sense from a Ricky Ponting standpoint. But at the same time, Rishabh Pant back to Punjab also makes a lot of sense. So, and given the purse that Punjab has, they might even get both. So it might which might just make things a lot more interesting from that perspective. um we can't even say that they will aim for batters or bowlers or spinners or anything, because they'll have to go for all of them anyway. um but I think with Ricky Ponting, especially what he was trying to do at Delhi, I think he was trying to build a team that was aggressive, yet a team that controlled every aspect of the game, whether it was the power play overs, in the middle overs, and right at the death, batting and bowling wise. And I think even when you listen to Ponting commentate, you get that thing about him trying to be in control of whatever situation that you have rather than just hoping for the best. So I think that is the kind of team that he wants to bring in, and I think Steve Smith fits that mold uh, quite well. So if so and I don't think Smith is going to be some Steve Smith will be there won't be too much bidding also, I feel, with Steve Smith as well. So that might be one of the easier options that they might have. And maybe if Punjab wants to make a statement, then a Rishabh Pant becomes that kind of a player. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, where it will. So yeah, I feel like we can make a very good assessment of Punjab maybe after the auction rather than right now, because of the fact that they're going with such a big purse, because they're going with a fairly new sort of backroom staff in place. So and it's become a little difficult also to predict at this level also what kind of team they will be. It's only after that mega auction where we can then sit here and be like, okay, maybe this is what they're going to try to do here, because right now it's like anything goes for them.
Absolutely. And I think that even Akash's comment kind of puts things in perspective. He says one interesting point about Punjab Kings is we might think they'll easily get Pant or their wicketkeeper captain. But at the auction, batters, bowlers, and all rounders went before wicketkeepers. I might be wrong. So again, assuming that if they end up splurging a lot of money on their batters, bowlers, and all rounders, will they have enough money for a wicket keeper option? So not sure. Let's see how the auctions, which lot comes first, and all of that happens. And even Nikhil's comment goes on to say that Markram is better than Steve Smith for T20. Not many would go after Markram too. So, Achal, do you see this as a possibility? Because in SRH, we saw Markram play, but then when you have the likes of Klaasen, Abhishek Sharma, Travis Head, and everyone, you kind of just get overshadowed. I mean, you will get overshadowed, right? But here, he clearly stands a chance, right, to make a mark for himself, Eden Markram.
Definitely, Markram is a good choice. Again, Butler is also a good choice for this franchisee. I mean, he could come into play as well. With the kind of purse they have, they'll get an opener, a keeper, and a captain in Butler. Markram is a very good choice as well. He's leading South Africa and he's led them pretty well. Till now, he got them to the final of the T20 World Cup. So, yeah, Markram is a very good, underrated choice. And I have another thing for Punjab. I think they should RTM Nathan Ellis above Rabada. This might seem a little controversial. Ellis, the T20 bowler, I think is a little bit higher than Rabada, the T20 bowler. Strictly talking about the format, I think Nathan Ellis makes more sense to RTM back into the team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Ponting at helm, we could possibly see this play out because Punjab also has like 4 RTMs. So if they're wise about it, I think they can really get back some good acquisitions. And with the purse amount they have, they make smart choices. I think they can actually build a really good squad. And we've seen, right, the kind of work that Ricky Ponting has done with Delhi in the past. Just hoping, he can turn the fortunes around for Punjab, this time around as well. And guys, we're left with 3 more teams. So let's talk about Gujarat Titans. I think here also not a lot of fans were happy, but then I think these were predictable retentions, right? With the likes of Rashid Khan for 18 crores, Shubman Gill for 16.5 crores, Sai Sudarshan for 8.5 crores, Rahul Tewatia for 4 crores, and Shah Rukh Khan for 4. So I'll start off with Rishabh on this one. I mean, we can see a clear intent, right, with the retentions that these are players who have performed well for us. So it's a no-brainer that we will retain them. So your thoughts on these picks?
I think Gujarat were one of the low-key teams when it comes to the auction retention news, because when the list was out, it was like, yeah, makes sense. So it wasn't too shocking, or it wasn't very newsworthy in that regard with when you compare them to other teams, because it makes sense having Rashid at 18. It's something that that it's like he is their talisman here. I think he is their captain. So I mean, makes perfect sense. I'm happy that Sai Sudarshan has been retained, because I really think he has done really well for them. He's super talented player and someone who can actually even grow and become better at this point. Uh, Shubman Gill, given is, I mean, maybe not going through the best patch of form right now, but definitely someone to hold on to, given that he has so much potential to grow and become better. So when and I mean Rahul Tevatia was a no-brainer for me. I mean Rahul Tevatia is actually a bit of a steal, I think, at 4 crore, because if he was to go into the auction, given how he has performed in IPL seasons before, I would totally expect other franchises to go for him. Um, I do believe they have one RTM, a capped player that they could go for. I don't think Mohammad Shami will feature given his injury problems. Um, could they go for David Miller? Maybe that's definitely something that we can keep an eye out for. Um, I think that they might, just because of the player that David Miller is. So I think that will, and even so, with the one thing that might bother them is I probably. Oh no, actually they have a pretty good I think purse that they're going into, 69 crores I think. So yeah, David Miller is definitely, if they want to RTM someone, they can go for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a good point there, that they actually have 69 crores heading into that auctions. And even the retained players seem like a decent bunch. So, Achal, again, heading into the auction, are there again certain players you think they will be looking to target? Because, I mean, again, the retained players do look decent. They can actually build a proper playing 11. But anything else they would keep in mind?
They definitely need a keeper. I don't think Saha is coming back definitely, so they will need a keeper over there. And Shammi, I mean, if he's fit, definitely RTM him. There is, I mean, he's the one who needs to be RTM'd if he's fit. But that's again given his fitness. And as Rishabh said, David Miller is another choice. And for me, one more choice over here is Noor Ahmed. I mean, he was pretty good for them in the previous 2 seasons. He is a mystery spinner. We don't have a lot of left arm wrist spinners in the cricketing world actually. So why not go back to him? I mean, he could come in pretty handy, and they need pacers. They really need pace bowlers over there. So they will. Their main thing will be keeper and pacers. Also about the Shah Rukh Khan retention, I'm a little bit skeptical about that. He barely played a few games for them last season, and they had Mohit Sharma as an option as an uncapped player as well. So I think they could have gone for Mohit Sharma over Shah Rukh Khan, but yeah, they have trusted Shah Rukh Khan, and I hope he comes good for them. But yeah, if Shami is fit and running, definitely Shami has to be RTM. I mean, there's no other player as good as him who can ball with the new ball. I don't think there's a better new ball bowler going into an better Indian new ball bowler going into the auction. So I think if he's fit, definitely Shami, and they'll have to go for the Pacers there.
Yeah, that's actually a fair shout. And I think a lot of people would be eyeing Shami right now because, man's coming back from injury and he can be probably a late addition to the BGT squad as well. But, anyways, that's for later. But this IPL auction, at least I hope, he's fit by then, can show us something in, the Ranji Trophy games or anything, just give us a glimpse of the kind of talent he is. And even this whole one RTM that Gujarat has, very interesting to see who they will go for. Because now that you say Noor Ahmed, I'm like, he's actually a very good pick they can possibly consider. Because I thought it's a no-brainer ki haan, they'll go for David Miller only. But then again, seeing some of the franchises and the amount of money they have, they will definitely eye David Miller, who's been clutch for them, man, in the past few seasons. So a tough one for Gujarat. Let's see how that pans out. And that brings me to Sunrisers Hyderabad. Again, a very interesting team. I mean, just looking at their retained players, Pat Cummins for 18 crores, Abhishek Sharma for 14, Nitish Kumar Reddy for 6, Klassen for 23 crores, which I was like, wow, that's a massive amount, and Travis Head for 14 crores. So I'll start with Rishabh on this one. I mean, finalists from the last edition. SRH clearly has retained 5 of their star performers from that season. So again, what were your thoughts on these retentions, and did you kind of again see it coming?
I mean, I think Heinrich Klaassen is the most expensive retention in this in this retention list, and I'm not surprised. I think he's one of the best T20 batters around, and especially when it comes to playing spin. I again go back to the T20 final from last year, where he took Akshar Patel to the cleaners. I don't know what Rohit Sharma was thinking, giving him the ball to face Heinrich Klaassen, but it and he because he is that kind of a player. He is that person who can come very closer to changing the dynamics of the game, can win you the game. And so not surprised that SRH have placed that trust on him. And then of course when Pat Cummins was acquired by SRH last season, it was they obviously had long term plans with Cummins, and it nearly paid off last season as well. So in his first season, he's taking them to the final. So obviously there is something that they have identified that pretty well, and they would let Pat Cummins sort of take leadership, for the foreseeable future. And I actually think retain Travis Head and Abhishek Sharma. Abhishek Sharma for 14 crore initially, I was like, But then if you combine Abhishek Sharma and Nitish Kumar Reddy for 20 crores, bit of a steal actually, because you could totally expect a Nitish Kumar Reddy going for more than 6 crores, given how his stock has risen after the IPL last season. and and Travis Head, who has a very good record in the subcontinent. I think, and how that opening pair performed for SRH last season, it was a bit of a no-brainer that these two would be retained. I think SRH have done pretty well in these with these retentions. Again, like most franchises, and in fact more so with the Sunrisers, they've gone batting heavy. The only sort of recognizable bowler that they have retained is Pat Cummins. So it's definitely something that, so they will have to go sort of into the auction, aiming to get to sort of ensure that their bowlers are that they get back their bowlers. They have, I believe, they have only an uncapped player option. So I don't know whom they will aim for, because if they had an option for a capped player, they would definitely try to get someone like Bhuvneshwar Kumar back. So but yeah, they will definitely aim for bowlers in this auction for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point you bring there, Rishabh, because just looking at how most of the teams, I think this also brings in Nikhil's point of how most of the teams have ended up retaining their batting core over their bowling. And case in point, SRH, right? Just looking at the conditions at Uppal, I mean, they were just such run heavy matches. You could just see how many runs were being scored there. So it kind of made sense, that they just went in with retaining some of their star batters as well. So that is one point I wanted to bring up. And even just looking into them heading into the auction, they go in with that 45 crores at their disposal. So, Achal, again, any areas you think they would want to bring in? I mean, of course, like their bowling is something that needs concern, but on the batting front, pretty much settled, right?
Yeah, I think the batters are settled, and adding to that retention point, RTM point of Rishabh, I think Abdul Samad would be a good option for them. He started coming off uh, pretty good for them last season. I was actually surprised they didn't retain him and just finish off the quota right there. But yeah, I think Abdul Samad is a good option. And looking at bowlers, Mayank Markande fits the uncapped player list now because the last played in 2018 or 19 or something. So I think those two are the RTM options for them, and they need bowlers. Historically, seeing SRH has been a bowling heavy team. When they won the IPL back in 16, that Bhuvi, I mean, they were a very bowling heavy team, and they have defend. They are historically speaking, they have been a bowling team, but last season they were. I mean, they just completely transformed their batting game with Travis Head, Abhishek Sharma, and Rich Kraston. They were on another level altogether. So, yeah, they will need to find bowlers. But the pitches we saw, the first half were 250 games of sort. But as we came into the second half, those pitches did deteriorate, and we started having those 150, 160 games once again. So, yeah, so they will need bowlers. In the end, bowlers are the ones who win tournaments. I mean, I still believe in that. So they will need bowlers. They had the likes of Bhuvi, Nattu, and Umran, Karthik Tyagi. So they had quite a few players over there. But they will have to rebuild their bowling options around Pat Cummins. And obviously, they fell. I think their spin department got hit because Hasaranga never turned up. So that was a huge miss for them the last season. They never could find a good spinner. They had to, even Washington Sundar got injured midway, came back, wasn't at his best. So, yeah, I think they will have to find spinners and pacers here. Mayank Markande and Abdul Samad could be their uncapped RTM options.
Interesting choice. And Rishabh, who would be that one RTM SRH could exercise? Because Nikhil in comments goes on to say RTM Washi for sure. Just seeing his performances in the recent past and in the last season as well, SRH sparingly used him, and he did not have the best of the outing. So your RTM pick for SRH?
Yeah, I think I would go with Achal here. Abdul Samad definitely.
Okay.
If they think that he is the kind of player that they want to carry on with. Um, Mayank Markande is an interesting one, but I think like Achal was saying, Abdul Samad was just coming good for them, especially in the second half of the season. Um, so yeah, that's probably where it is. And I think I'm not sure if they can retain Washington Sundar because their RTM is that one uncapped player. So it is going to be so if they will, because I don't know if they're going to be very excited for Abdul Samad, because if they had to RTM him, they might as well would have retained him, because Abdul Samad definitely is someone that some franchises will look out for. And we know with Indian uncapped batters, they can go for big bucks sometimes in the auction. You always had one or two uncapped players who somehow goes for more than 2 or 3 crores. So due to the auction dynamics are such. So yeah, that's where I stand at this point of time.
Fair enough. Let's see who SRH goes ahead with. But 45 crores is still something they will be heading into the auction with. So building a squad around that already set group of players, I think they're in good stead. So let's see how things play out for them. And guys, last but not the least, let's talk about Chennai Super Kings. This is one team I saved for the last because everyone had an opinion. Ki, "Arey, Ruturaj Gaikwad 18 crores. Why would you retain him for so much?" And Matisha Patirana for 13 crores, Shivam Dubey for 12 crores, Jadeja for 18 crores. Again, a lot of people were disappointed with this. They're like, how is Jadeja, the T20 player, getting retained for 18 crores? Like, what is the rationale? And of course, MS Dhoni, the uncapped player, getting, retained for 4 crores. So, a very interesting set of players getting retained here. So, Achal, I'll start with you. Like, what did you make of these retentions? And just, shed light on Ruturaj Gaikwad and Ravindra Jadeja, being retained each for 18 crores, which is massive, no?
It is massive, but I don't think I was too surprised with it, to be honest. I mean, Jadeja has been there with them forever, and he's still, even though he's at the other side of 30, he still gets all three skills. He's still one of the fittest, and he still wins you matches on his day. So I think Jadeja was a no-brainer over there. Maybe 18 crores, questionable, but even in the auction, I think you would go for 14, 15. So not much of a difference over there. And yeah, with the kind of rules that had come in, the fourth player had to be 18 once again. So I mean, yeah, they do, like, all four retentions make sense. Ruturaj, obviously the captain, a long-term prospect. Again, 18 crores questionable, but yeah, they're captain and a very long-term prospect. And Patirana, once again, he was just destructive for them in the previous season. Those Yorkers, those spells in the death overs. I mean, one of the best going around in the deaths. He had to be there. And sorry, I forgot. Oh yeah, Shivam Dubey. Shivam Dubey is another. I don't know. I mean, he comes good. He doesn't come good. He has come good for Chennai Super Kings for the last 2 seasons. So I think that's the reward for him. After being a great potential for a long time, he's finally started playing to his potential. Finally started like taking on the spinners in the middle overs. So that's something that they have done there. So with their retentions, they have an opener, they have a middle order batter, they have, in fact, Jadeja is a proper middle order batter too. So they have two middle order batters, they have 8 overs covered as well with Jadeja and Patirana. So that's pretty good. And Dhoni, I mean, obviously he will be there, he will be there behind the stumps, he will come. I think he'll come in the last 2 3 overs and smash a few sixes for fun and yeah, just have his time of the life. I mean that's the stage of the career he is in right now, and I think he'll just want to enjoy whatever time is left with him. Maybe 1 season, 2 seasons. You never know with Dhoni. And yeah, I think these were pretty logical options given the choices that they had to make around. They had otherwise, who was there? There was Shardul Thakur, there was Deepak Chahar, there was, I think, my Tikshana could have made a point, but last season he disappointed. I think he played 4 matches for 2 wickets or something like that. So, yeah, but these four retentions were not surprising for me. Yeah, Rachin and Conway could have been there, but one of them, I'm definitely sure they're going to RPM, that either of Rachin or Conway.
Yeah, fair enough. And just elaborating a little on the Dhoni point, I mean, I saw Rishabh smile, when I was like Dhoni, the uncapped player, because him getting retained at 4 crore was a given, right? Because Dhoni is the face of CSK, and fans just tend to associate so much of CSK with him. And the man's clearly getting younger because every season we think it's going to be like his last, but then he's like, I'm going to play on for this season and probably, two more after that. But again, Rishabh, do you somewhere think that the management is still milking whatever little is left of this old man just for the fans because they're scared the moment he leaves the franchise, it's just going to mean something entirely different? Like, say, Virat leaving RCB is just going to be the end of the world for a lot of fans. So, do you see something like that for CSK as well?
Before all that, I mean, look at the this rule that the IPL brought back of, if you haven't played international cricket for 5 years and now this person is uncapped now. I mean, I call it the Dhoni rule almost, because it I feel like it's been brought just so that CSK get this benefit. Um, I mean, listen, the Dhoni CSK connection it's legendary. I mean, there's a reason why Thala is almost synonymous with this particular individual. But that's the thing also, like every now after 2020, every season you're like, okay, which is Dhoni's last season? And now this you have this speculation every year. And I think now Dhoni has said he will enjoy a few more years of the IPL. Here's the thing: we've had older players play in the IPL and do fairly well. I remember going back when Brad Hogg used to play, I think, for KKR when he was like 40, when he in his 40 mid 40s, 45, 46 he was when, and he played for us. And so, I mean, if I think Dhoni still seems to be in good shape. He will, like Achal says, come in the last couple of overs, hit a few sixes, maybe help his team win. Because I remember one time there was this one game where I think CSK had definitely lost, but it's because Dhoni was smashing sixes in the last over, all CSK fans went happy. So I'm like, so maybe that's what's going on here. It's it's a very weird dynamic, but but that element of adoration that the fans have for MS Dhoni, I think it does need to be valued, and I think that's what the management is thinking of. How long Dhoni goes on for, he did say a few years, but I still think next season his participation is a bit suspect. So it becomes because after a while it becomes a burden, because okay, fine, how long does he go on for? Can he play all the games in this season? Will they look for a wicket keeper batter now? I mean, they kind of had one in someone like Devon Conway. They haven't retained him. He is definitely going to be an RTM option. And there are so many RTM options that CSK have. Conway, one of them. Rachin Ravindra, who I thought definitely they might retain. Deepak Chahar is a good one for them as well. Mahesh Theekshana as well, and I think someone like Tushar Deshpande, who had done quite well for CSK last season too. So they have a plethora of options on the retention. I think it will be either Devon Conway or Rachin Ravindra, but they could really go with any of these options.
Fair point there. And before we kind of conclude our discussion, I'll just ask this question to Achal as well. I mean, there have been a lot of reports that Rishabh Pant could be acquired by CSK, as that wicket keeper sort of an option. But then, I mean, do you really see that sort of playing out? Because Pant could be a good, say successor for Dhoni. But in the same season with Dhoni, you already have Ruturaj you've retained for like some 18 crores. Do you see this kind of happening, like in any
I don't,
alternate dimension? Yeah.
I don't think so. Plus the purse, they have what, 50, 55 crores left? Yeah, 55 crores left. So that's not enough for to retain Rishabh Pant is what I think, because he's definitely going for in that 20 crore range. So I don't think Pant is going to Chennai right now. And successor for Dhoni, I mean, they do have a lot of options in the auction. Let's see, they can. I mean, it's not necessary that they need a keeping captain. They already have Ruturaj for captaincy, so it's not a direct successor for Dhoni as such anyway. I mean, so they have a lot of wicket keeping options there to sort of move forward.
Agreed. And with 55 crores, I think, they can still build a good squad around whatever players they have retained. So not concerned for CSK. And yeah, guys, I think that pretty much does conclude our discussion. Let's also take a quick look at the comment section, which I actually did want to direct some questions. So Unmit here asks Achal in specific, who will be KKR's new captain? So Achal, do you have any picks for this?
I think we touched upon this Unmit. Josh Butler is my pick. Mine and Rishabh both's pick is Josh Butler at this point of time. Or
Yeah.
my second pick is a little left field, but it's Ishan Kishan for them.
Ooh, yeah. That was a good one. And we also had Nikhil going on to add that Abhinav Manohar was definitely better and underrated too, ahead of Shah Rukh Khan. Someone, Gujarat could have potentially considered, but they didn't. Okay, fine. And Urmit also goes on to add that KKR won last season. I mean, I don't think any of us forgot that. We did even mention it in our conversation. So, okay, Urmit, thank you for that. And yeah, those were the leftover comments. And on that note, I will draw curtains on this discussion. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the Saturday to discuss the IPL retentions. Very excited, with the way the conversation is shaped up. Once the auction is done, also I'll call you guys. So we can just talk about everything that we reflected on this conversation. And things actually played out that way. And to all our viewers who joined in, thank you so much for your questions, your comments, perspectives. It really helped, our conversation as well. The plan is to do a lot of live shows like this, going ahead. So please keep joining us and asking those questions. Follow, Rishabh and Achal on their respective social media handles on Instagram and Twitter. They post some good stuff there. Follow Never in the Back Foot as well, for some regular stuff like this. That's all, guys, for now. Good night. Take care. Stay safe.